All right, guys, listen. The only thing that matters if you subscribe right now or comment or whatever you're doing right now, go to the page. What's the name? Oh, go to the page right now. I was talking to my friend right there, the sexy Chauncey the Bear. You know what time it is. There's two of us, and there's two of them, right? Those wrestling girls, there's two of them. Make sure to subscribe, like, watch, enjoy.
Queen P.R, Krista B, those wrestling girls, TWG, Black Excellence, making it effortless, podcast bringing up women and wrestling. Let's go.
Hey everybody, what's up? We're back. It's those wrestling girls, and as promised, we'll bring you consistency because we know that you missed us and we missed you too. Always. It's your girl Krista B
and Queen P.R.
And today, as you can see or as you can hear, we are talking about the rise and fall of the very first WWF/E diva, Sunny. She's been in the news lately. She's been trending. She's been very controversial since being let go, or however you want to put it, out of WWEF. And I feel like it's just the time. This was originally going to be a sound off, but I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Whatever I got to get off my chest, I can definitely say it here. Yeah. But before we get into that, because that's one headache we're going to have to tackle. We got to tackle one headache at a time. How are you feeling today, P?
I'm actually really, really, really good. Like, I'm better than I have been in a very, very long time.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think it has a lot to do with, like, the sunshine too. New York was very sunny, even though it was kind of like a crazy-ass day.
Crazy day.
Sending my love and prayers to Brooklyn right now.
Right. It was, if you were in Brooklyn or if you were in New York, you heard whatever happened in Brooklyn, just send us your prayers right now, because
it's crazy.
We don't know what's the next step. Yeah, like, take the subways. My anxiety is probably not any better.
And already getting over the anxiety of COVID, and
it's just
people really aren't social distancing anymore. So then you add on, like, oh shit, like somebody might start shooting and doing dumb shit like that. It's like ridiculous.
So you got a smoke bomb and you shooting people. How? Like, it's just too much. It's a lot.
Too much.
But everybody I know is safe.
That's good. And I've heard, like, thankfully, like, it seems like everyone that I know in Brooklyn are good. So I'm glad to hear that. But all in all, I'm in an amazing mood. I'm, like, so motivated again. Like, I'm so, like, driven. So this is like the total reset going to Dallas. Of course, I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing it was talking about WrestleMania trip, but
so good.
It was just so good. It's like exactly what I needed. I connected with, like, all the right people, the people that I feel like are going to be, like, in my life forever, probably. And we've shared so many amazing experiences. And now it reminded us, like, we have a really strong brand. We have a strong community. And we got to keep going because this is, like, kind of what we are here to do.
I'm sorry if you hear the sound effects in the background. The neighbors let their dogs out. And I feel like there's always a little chihuahua that's always like, so
it's always that way.
Please block out that noise. That's just ambiance, I guess. I don't know. But I'm doing okay. I'm doing good. Definitely reset. Definitely recharged. Definitely in a better space than I was before.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad we are not in Dallas right now, because they are under a hurricane tornado watch.
We left at the right time.
At the right time. Okay. At the right time. But no, it's really, really good. It's really good. Now we in this wrestling crew group chat. Shout out to everybody in that group chat.
I love the group chat.
Yes, it was so dope. I didn't think that was a group chat that we needed, but it's
right.
super,
And
super funny.
You know me, I'm not a group chat person. I will leave that message things stacking up, but it feels right. Like I'm like, we watch Raw as a family, right?
Watching Raw as a family. Speaking of watching Raw as a family, and I need to start putting money down on these predictions.
You definitely called that one.
I called it. Okay, so as you all know, we've seen Bianca has made history at Mania. You know, she's now the new Raw Women's Champion. And of course, it's like, who do we want to see her fight next? We've seen her go through Doudrop, Rhea, Liv, Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, Dana, Nat. It's like she went through the whole roster when it made sense. So we're in this group chat and they're talking about, oh, maybe we're going to have a return. Maybe it's going to be Asuka.
I was hoping, see, that's the type of time I was on. I was like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity for Bayley or Asuka or even Lacey or someone to come out.
And I was like, I literally said, and mind you, I was at an event hosting. So I had to turn it on my phone to watch to see who was going to come out. So I was like, all right. I said, if anything, it's Bayley. I said, but how much you want to bet? Knowing WWE is going to be Sonya Deville. Lo and behold, now we have a Sonya Deville versus Bianca match coming down the line, which at points is so predictable. So predictable.
See, it's funny because I did not think that at all. I thought it was like, okay, it's going to be a return. I kind of enjoyed it. Like, it really did catch me off guard. I was also watching Raw with my mom, and that's always like hilarious to me because she just like, she's not a fan per se, but she just finds it like so comical, and like I be having to fill her in on like the storylines and stuff. So she's just like, oh, but wait, isn't she like, you know, isn't she an official now? And I'm like, yeah, but you know, that's the thing. She used to be a wrestler.
It just goes back to that like abuse of power thing that Stephanie used to do. And Triple H used to do. They'll want to wear the suits and the you know, and even Mr. McMahon, you know, the abuse of power. And then when it's time for them to find that opportunity, they're going to swoop in and get that opportunity. And you know,
I like it.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's why it makes it so predictable, especially if everybody kept saying, oh, it was giving old WWF vibes, Raw Attitude Era vibes last night. I'm sorry for my dogs. I'm sorry.
I didn't even think about that. It's funny, like everyone wants everything to be like the Attitude Era, and it's like, no, that's just like storytelling. But I think Sonya Deville is doing a really good job at it. Like she's really good on the mic. She really like took on that like cocky, authoritative, like I'm gonna do whatever I want just because attitude. And they punish her just enough so it seems like believable, because after a certain point it's like, okay, why does she keep getting away with this? Like, doesn't she work here? This doesn't make sense. But she does have times where she has to sort of pay for what she's done. So I liked it. I liked it because she kind of was like, okay, it's an open contract. So no matter what, Bianca has to face whoever. So I mean, I enjoyed it, and it's different. I don't know who brought it to my attention that it's someone else besides the Four Horsewomen, so they're interested in it. I'm like, you know what? I think it was Mike. I was like, you know what? I'm here for it. Bianca can spice it up. Sonya's good. So we'll see how it goes. I'm curious though, Krista, like, do you see a racial undertone with Sonya's character? Like, I don't know if we're reaching or if it's a coincidence.
I feel like people are reaching because it's just like, you got to make it make sense. Naomi, like, on SmackDown, before Sasha came back, the only person who was like really climbing to the top was Naomi. Charlotte is already at the top. Why would you really want to touch that in a sense? Like, why do you want to take her down when you can literally pair with her and do whatever is ruled together? And then once that ruling, you know, decided to fall, to then turn, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just like, we didn't have Bayley because she's out on injury. Sasha was somewhere doing God knows what, whatever. We had Xia Li come back to help Naomi, but we only had her for like 2.5 seconds. Like, you blinked and you missed her. So it was just like, who else to go after and who would be the perfect person? Now it's just like, why not Naomi? Just because she's Black has nothing to do with the fact that...
I didn't get that either.
And then now with Bianca, it's like now Bianca is the person you want to go after. People are tired of seeing Charlotte in the ring. Let's be honest. People are tired of seeing the natural selection and the super kick. And people are tired. Yes, she's the SmackDown Women's Champion, but people are tired seeing Charlotte. Like,
Yeah,
you know, then this whole thing with
seriously.
Charlotte and Ronda, like, who's really going to sit here and try to
Nobody
interject
cares.
into that, whatever
Right.
that is?
And I think it's cool that Bianca is the one because we get to see her mix it up with different people. And we've been waiting for Sonya to get back in the ring. So I think this is the perfect opportunity for her to do so. And I'm excited for it. And I think it's going to be way better than I think we expect it to be, just because Sonya's also really good at like what she's been doing. So, and if anyone deserves to get their ass whooped, is Sonya, and the best person to do that is Bianca Belair.
And that's on period.
And that's on period.
So from one chaotic moment to another,
Sonya Deville definitely chooses chaos.
She does. She wakes up and chooses violence. Like, you know, sometimes you gotta
she puts the suit on and she's just like, I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna choose violence today. And it's all gonna be in the name of professionalism and corporate shit.
And speaking of choosing violence and chaos, we definitely have to get into this Sunny episode.
Oh yes.
But before we get into this Sunny episode, let's just, you know, take our time to collect ourselves for what we about to say, and we'll be right back.
Yes.
It's me, Queen P.R, one half of those wrestling girls, and our friends over at Ripple Junction want us to remind you that all of our favorite designs, including this Roy's War shirt, have gotten relaunched in new designs and a variety of new colors. And you can get a t-shirt for all your favorite fandoms, whether it's The Office, your favorite movies, your favorite brands. There's everything over at Ripple Junction. And don't forget to use the code Those Wrestling Girls to save 15% off. So what are you waiting for? Go on Ripple Junction, use those code Those Wrestling Girls, and post your shirts on social media and tag Ripple Junction.
All right. Now that we had some time to gather our thoughts, we're going to jump right into it. Like I said earlier, this episode is about the rise and fall of Sunny. And it's kind of sad to see where her legacy has led her. You understand? Like, it's just like, Sunny, watching her in the Attitude Era, it was like, yo, she's gorgeous. Like, she could be a pinup model. She could do whatever. Like, she's gorgeous. She has charisma. She's good on the mic. And now you see her, and it's just like, what happened? Like, how did you fall so far from grace that you couldn't even redeem yourself? Like,
and it's funny because she's had so many times to redeem herself, and she never has been able to. But it's interesting with like wrestling, like I feel like the most influential figures, like the first of something or someone where you can't imagine something without something, are the ones that have like the most complicated legacy, like Hulk Hogan, Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Like, it's one of those businesses where, especially back in the day, where it's like, if you go back in the past, most likely they're not angels. And a lot of them don't survive it. And Sunny's one of those people that did not survive it. So for those who don't know who Sunny is, because, you know, some of our listeners and viewers are a little on the younger side, but they're lucky enough they get to see people like Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair be like known for their athleticism. But at a certain point, women in WWE or WWF or wrestling weren't really looked at that way. They were like the sideshow, and it wasn't for a long time where they were like an actual attraction. And everybody knows about Miss Elizabeth, the OG First Lady, valet. But Sunny was like different. She was like more sexy. I feel like Miss Elizabeth was more like regal, almost like you kind of looked at her like royalty. And Sunny, you kind of like wanted to sleep with her or hang out with her, or, you know, she was mixing it up more than a little bit than Miss Elizabeth, or in a different way.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. Do you remember like your first introduction to Sunny? Like, do you recall or no? Or
I feel like I do remember her vaguely because I started watching wrestling in '96, but I was like 6 years old. But I didn't really start like being invested in any of the women until more like Sable time. Like, I do remember Sunny, but I wasn't really like, I didn't have any like, you know, connection with her, if that makes sense. Like, it was like, you know, yeah. It wasn't until I was older and started like learning more about like the wrestling industry and stuff where I like appreciated like what Sunny did, because she was like very influential. Like as far as like the AOL thing being the most downloaded photo on AOL in '96, like that's huge.
True. Especially because that was around the time when the internet just started to like flourish, and ooh, you said AOL, girl. It took me back to my screening.
And I think that's a true indicator of like how the value of wrestling fans, like people always underestimate like how many people love wrestling. And I think those moments that don't really get talked about enough, like this is the, like, think about Google's images. Like this woman was the most searched person on Google, and it was a wrestler. So that means like people who didn't like wrestling were checking into it, and it just goes to show like where the business was going to at the time. True. But she was it. She was that bitch at one point.
She was it. I feel like I was introduced to her when she was the valet for I can't think of their names. They're both deceased now. I don't know if it was Authors of Pain or that tag team. Huh?
LOD?
Not LOD. LOD, yes, Legion of Doom. Yes. I think she was, if I'm not mistaken, I think she was Authors of Pain too. Those are the ones who did the March Pit. I would have to see. But yes, LOD, she was valet for them. Like she was a valet to a lot of these tag teams because there were no women tag teams, they were all men. So she bounced from like tag team to tag team. And then I remember her being with Taka Michinoku for a little bit. And she was very polarizing. Like she was very beautiful to look at. Like when her music hit, everybody, like the teenage boys who was just starting to go through puberty, the old men who just sit in their basement and watch porn. Like she literally
had appeal.
She had appeal. She was very, very attractive. And it's like I said, it's just sad to see. But also I feel like around that time, WWE was different with contracts and stuff. If you were not on TV, you were not making money.
Right.
That's why a lot of these wrestlers work through their injury, work through their addictions, work through whatever. Because if you did not, right, if you did not make it onto TV that week or whatever, do any house shows or whatever, you were not getting paid. And I don't think at that time merch was selling as it is now for these people. So I don't even know if she even had merch, and if merch was, if she did have merch, how much she was getting from that.
At one point, she was making a lot of money on merch because she was like one of the like top stars. Mm-hmm. And back then, that's kind of like where you made a lot of your money. That's why people like didn't always want to be bad guys back then, because bad guys didn't sell merch. Like now, of course, the attitude already changed that. But back then, it was like, I want kids to like me because I want them to want their parents to like buy my merch. But Sunny's posters and T-shirts and like all that shit, like she was the diva of like WWE. And I remember watching, I really miss WWE Network because they had a lot of cool shows on there. And I remember one where Natty was talking about Sunny's influence and about how she mixed it. Like she did things that like Miss Elizabeth would never do, like interviews in the male locker room and, getting slop thrown on her or getting in the ring and oh gosh. So it's funny because with Sunny, you talk about like her on-screen character, and then when you can't help but talk about her off-screen character as well, because it's just all polarizing. Because I think of the slot bucket, and Sunny was not very liked backstage at one point, and the other wrestlers definitely made her know it by like actually shitting and vomiting and all that stuff in the slot bucket. And then they knew that it was going to be poured on her at the end of the night. Shit in her food, and that's why I always have respect for women in wrestling, because the things that you have to no sell, and we see it in like Dark Side of the Ring, like with Terry Reynolds when Brock Lesnar like flashed her, like you really have to no sell. And I think that goes underappreciated, the strength or like the thick skin that you have to have, because I don't even know if I have that thick of a skin to go through.
Girl, everybody would have been shocked. You're gonna shit and vomit in a bucket and mix up whatever it is, and you're gonna pour it on me, or you're going to shit in my food, and these were men doing this to her.
Yeah, it was very common. That kind of behavior was very common back then. And she was actually dating, or I don't know if I don't remember if she was married to Chris Candido, but they came into the wrestling business together. And you would think traveling on the road with your man like would kind of like protect you from that kind of thing. At least I would think so.
See, y'all gotta get y'all these men that don't play about y'all.
Right.
Ain't no way on God's green earth if me and my Chris was traveling on the road together and did shit to me. I mean, because, you know, his name was Chris, R.I.P. to Chris Canando. And they did some shit like that to me. Oh, we would have been in jail. We would have been in jail.
Yeah, I don't take shit like that lightly.
Like, are you? And then for you to have to know, you're like one of the only women back there.
Yeah.
Like one of the first, one of the only, and I could only imagine what she had to go through. Like explaining it that way, I kind of see why she goes with her vices. Because it's like when you don't get help, seek help for it. Yeah. Like talk to a therapist, talk to whoever. When you don't do that, and you decide, okay, well, because if you know back there, you talk to a therapist, you're crazy.
Right.
Something is wrong with you. Your mental health is. But her mental health was fucked up. Look at what they did to her. They traumatized her.
Yeah. And it's funny too because her like downfall is so connected to like wrestling lore because of her affair with Shawn Michaels. Like in her book, everyone keeps telling me her book is a must read, but in her book she says the first time she drank alcohol was with Shawn Michaels, and she was having an affair with him while traveling with her boyfriend, and everyone knew about it except for, I mean, it was like, what do they say, like the worst kept secret or something, where like everyone pretty much knew. And that's kind of when she, you know, that's when Soma's, that drug that everybody was taking, was in, and she was into that scene, and she would get drugs for people. So it was she was in WWF whatever at like a very interesting time, because like the business was down, but it was coming back up. It was the Monday Night War, so Sunny was featured heavily, because what's the best way not to change the channel to Nitro was like have like a hot blonde girl like Sunny. And like you said, she's beautiful to look at. She is, you know, she has the it factor. Like when she's on camera back then, you understood why you were paying attention. But she was mixy backstage. She was into shit that she wasn't into, but I think what's more interesting too is Sunny's background. Like she grew up an avid wrestling fan, and I always appreciate people who are like super fans and they get to like work in the business. And she actually had a crush on Marty Jannetty when she was.
I mean, who didn't? He was a okay, young Marty Jannetty. I mean, before the barbershop scene, because you know Shawn is a common denominator. Okay.
I mean, I think he even knows that. I had to change his life around.
I would have to love to talk to Shawn Michaels. Like, we need to get him up here.
Real stories that he has.
I can only imagine.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but to have a crush on Marty Jannetty, like, who wouldn't?
I can see
For
that.
me, if I was in that era, it would be between Marty Jannetty and Ricky Steamboat.
Ricky Steamboat was cute. Mm-hmm. I never thought about who I would crush on back in that era. That's a really good question.
I mean, it wasn't a lot.
It wasn't a lot. I'm like, okay, who are the black ones? You got to start there.
Junkyard Dog. You had Coco Beware.
No.
You kind of had Kamala.
Bret Hart was super hot when he was younger.
Okay.
You don't think so? I think he was.
I feel like my favorite Hart is literally Owen. Like, nobody else really stood out to me besides Owen Hart.
I loved him too.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't back then, but no one really stood out to me besides Owen Hart. Like, not taking anything from Bret, but if Owen was alive, you kind of would have went under. That's just my opinion. Y'all can fight me if y'all want to. I don't care.
Wait, who, Bret Hart?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, they weren't like out around the same time, so.
I know, but I'm saying, like, but they did have that. They did have that versus brother match and stuff like that. So around that time, if Bret never left to go to WCW and Owen had stayed alive, if he didn't do that Blue Blazer thing or whatever, and they, you know, Owen would have been that hard to beat, and Bret I feel like Owen would have went to the top, and Bret would have kind of stayed mid-card-ish.
Damn.
That's just my opinion. Don't fight me, fight your mama.
I just don't get it, but it's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was a wrestling fan. But she also had a troubled childhood, growing up in a household with a drunk father. Who apparently, because her real name is like Tamara Snatch.
Yeah. So I've been like like reading and like listening to all these Sunny stories, and supposedly that was her name. Her name was supposed to be Jennifer Lynn, and then her father came in drunk into the when she was born and named her Tamara Lynn, which apparently was like the name of the alcohol bottle that he was drinking or some crazy shit like that.
Oh, so he
I
just
don't
marked
know
her.
how true that is, but that would definitely be an omen for like what her life would end up becoming.
Yeah.
Because she, and I think too, so I knew of Sunny and then I learned more of her, like, just reading books and stuff like that. And then I listened to Bruce Pritchard's Something to Wrestle With episode about Sunny. And I always have like a little bit of like an issue with how they cover women. I do feel like it comes from a very sexist point of view because there's a lot of things that they shamed Sunny for that they'll praise male wrestlers for. Like, having an active sex life and lots of women and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really like her episode, but it was very like informative. And she was in the mix with all the other wrestlers doing exactly like what they were doing. And she just looked worse for it because she happened to be a woman. And the crazy thing is Sunny wasn't even as wild as you would think at first. Like I was surprised to learn that she turned down a Playboy cover opportunity because when people found out the demand she clearly had with the AOL thing, Playboy came knocking and she actually refused, and she told Vince she was shy, she was young, she was only like 20 to 23, she wasn't ready for that. And then when you think of like what she became, it's like, oh wow.
Right. Yeah, of course men always feel like there's that like women have to live up to this standard. Like you can't have an active sex life. You can't be out, thotting and bopping. You can't. But my thing is that what gives you guys the right to do so? If y'all want us to be respectful, we're not saying that all women do that, but I feel like those women who are comfortable and with their sexuality and stuff, that's liberating.
Yeah, it really is.
It's very liberating. Not saying that I go out and do that, not saying that you go out and do that, but for these women who go out and take control and can literally do what a man does and not catch any feelings or have that control over them, that is liberating as fuck, okay?
It really is.
So don't ever feel like a guy should tell you how to act as a woman, because at the end of the day, you own your parts.
Exactly. And we really have all the power at the end of the day.
We really do.
So even when men think they're objectifying us, like most of the time we're really in control of the situation.
Right, we just let you guys think that you're doing something.
That's
you're
literally
not.
exactly what it is. And I love that I've gotten older and realized that. And I am like so at peace with my life because of it.
Right. Call me what you want, but hey, yeah. I know the truth.
Like Sunny's affair with Shawn Michaels, like she detailed a lot of it in her book, detailed a lot about their sex life, their kinks that he was into. And I mean, I don't fault her for sharing her experiences like that. Like they were like saying like, oh, that was so, really wrong of her. And like, that was like uncalled for her to do that. He has a family. But I'm like, this is her memoir. And
How long did this affair go on?
Maybe 2 years.
I'm pretty sure at that time, Shawn Michaels was not in anybody's relationship. If this happened early 90s, Shawn Michaels I don't think he had a wife and child or whatever.
It was more Sunny who was with
Chris. With Chris.
Yeah, and like everyone knew, and everybody liked Chris, and they were like, okay, like you're like being fucked up. But everybody already hated Shawn's at that time. So they were just like the most hated people. And according to her, like Vince knew about their affair and like not approved of it, but kind of like understood their connection, I guess. So, and it really like affected a lot of things. But at one point, Sunny backstage, she was that bitch. Like she was the female presence. She was a huge commodity. She drove demand. And then I think her downfall in WWF came when Sable came in, because Sable kind of, came in and was like, oh, that's cute. You had this, male teenage demographic, sex pot on lock, but I'm going to come and just turn that over. And then I think the timing of it too, because Sunny, like, you know, like WWF was like, business was kind of like this, and Sunny helped. And then Sable came right along when things were like skyrocketing. And then she was instantly treated as more of a star than Sunny was. And that friction really.
But do you think it could have played to her being shy too? Because she just turned down Playboy. You know, although she was the most searched on AOL, making mad money off of that. And then Sable comes along, who's literally wearing a rubber band, and she's not saying no to anything, you know? Like, she's not saying no to any of that. So,
and
yeah.
they treated her very much like a star as soon as she came in, Sable. So for a lot of people like Luna and Sunny, who kind of got their feet wet in the wrestling business, are like, okay, she didn't pay her dues, and you're giving her the red carpet treatment. You're giving her my spot, essentially. Because if we think it's competitive for women to get on TV now, imagine what it was back then. And now you're like the new, fresh, you know, like sex symbol now. Like, we've seen Sunny been there, done that. Now we got Sable. She has a whole new look, a whole new sex appeal, and we like her. And Sunny did not like that, and it caused a lot of friction backstage. And they, you know, a lot of people felt like it wasn't fair that Sable was being treated that way. And supposedly, according to Jim Cornette, they both were, Sunny and Sable were horrible to each other. But Sunny was a little bit more upfront about it, and Sable was a little sneaky with hers.
I could see that.
And yeah, and definitely, you know, manipulated situations, and, you know, caused fights between like Luna and the other women backstage. So that's what I've heard about Sable. But with Sunny, it was a lot of jealousy. And then, of course, Sable choosing to do Playboy actually catapulted her career outside of the ring as well. So I can see, you know, Sunny being a little salty. Like, you know, I'm a territorial person too. So I can definitely see Sunny being like, okay, who is this new girl coming in? And she didn't have to pay her dues. I was getting fucking shit in my food and on the road with my, you know, doing all this shit. And now I have to like cater to this bitch.
I see that, but that shit and food thing.
Nah, it's a lot of things that I was like, okay, the wrestling business. Like, I don't do that hazing shit. I don't do that whole like punking, pranking. That's not who. No. I don't take shit like that lightly. Like, we're fighting. Like, you know, a Bad Girls Club when they throw like your suitcase in the pool and shit. See, I get arrested. Like, I would be like, okay, no, this ain't it. This ain't just an episode. Like, this is
real life. Real. Like, this is what we're doing. This is real fucking life. Like, we're not gonna sit here and play with my stuff. 100%. So after a while, I guess after her feud with Sable and all the shit that was going on backstage, she decided to leave. Went to ECW with Paul E. Heyman. Yeah. And we see how that turned out.
See, she really existed in that like mid to late 90s era where the wrestling business was so like, I don't know how to explain it, but
it was all over the place in a sense.
Yeah, and like you had all these different promotions, and you had ECW, and she, like, I hear a lot of people say, you know, ended up working to some extent in ECW. She did like whatever job that they needed her to do. She helped with like, you know, setting things up and all that kind of stuff. And she said she enjoyed it, but then she ultimately stopped getting paid. And that seemed to be a continued thing in her and Chris's career, where they would go to a promotion and things would be good for, you know, a little while. They would get paid on time, and then all of a sudden they would like stop getting paid. Yeah. But this whole time, Sunny at this point has like an alcohol problem, drug problem, but like her legacy is still there. So she still has somewhat of a star power because she was like the Belladonnas and all that stuff. But it's never the same. Once you leave WWE, especially at that time, it's not going to be the same, especially like with WWE, ECW, no offense, but like you said, you know how that ended. She ended up going to WCW. It's just not the same.
And WCW just got worse. I feel like at that time, leaving WWE or F at that time, it was never a good move. Bret Hart did it. I feel like it only worked for Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Like, it only worked for them. Everybody else was just not properly.
And Hulk Hogan, if you want to say that.
Okay, I guess. It just didn't work out for anybody. So she goes to WCW and immediately is issues. Yeah. Her drinking becomes a problem. Her drugs become a problem. she gets into it with DDP's ex-wife, and she gets fired from that because who are you to get into it with DDP's ex-wife?
Right. And it all had to do with like her reputation preceding her, because there was a huge drug problem in WCW. Of course, that's just how wrestling was at the time. And I think some paraphernalia got found. They wanted to suspend someone. They instantly blamed Sunny. Sunny supposedly swore up and down it wasn't hers. But because she's already had this reputation of being like a drug addict and all that kind of stuff, you know, it became a thing, and she thought it was DDP's wife that snitched her out, and then it just became like this whole thing, and she ended up getting fired. But it was just a really ugly situation, and I would say that her wrestling career never picked back up after leaving WWE and being such a star. And someone else brought it to our attention. I want to bring up some stuff that people wrote on Twitter, but every tag team that she managed got the gold, and she was one of those amazing heel managers that interfered in the matches and used her sex appeal to, you know, distract and get her tag teams what they needed.
True. And it's like, you don't recognize that. People don't recognize that. One, they can't look past the sex appeal. Two, they can't look past the BS that goes on in the back with her. It's like they didn't know how to check shit at the door for it to become a professional thing.
Can I
go ahead.
Bring up something, especially when we were talking about Bret Hart and just how polarizing she was even behind the scenes. Like, she was involved in their feud in real life because Shawn, you know, as we said, had an affair with her. And then when he was beefing with Bret Hart, he mentioned, you know, he kind of insinuated on live TV, you know, saying that Bret Hart was having sunny days. Sleeping with Sunny, knowing that Bret Hart is married, and this is just gonna, and he has a famous family, and this is just gonna be bad.
No, Bret said Sunny Days to Shawn, not Shawn saying it to Bret.
No, Shawn said it. No, Shawn said it to Bret, and Bret was upset because you're like insinuating that I'm having an affair with Sunny when I'm the one that's not even having an affair with Sunny. It's you.
But why would Bret say that? Once he went back there, he was crying. Shawn was crying.
Shawn was crying about what?
That's what I'm confused now, because I thought that.
No, Shawn insinuated that Bret Hart.
Oh yes. Okay.
And that's right. Even Owen was upset. Owen was in the ring because like Bret didn't really catch it at first. It kind of like, you know, in the midst of like, you know, going into, it was a promo. It was supposed to be a promo, and he said that, and it kind of, you know, went over Bret Hart's head, and then Owen caught it, and then of course back then everyone's calling like, you know, are you cheating on your wife? You know, blah blah blah. And that added even more heat to their feud. And Sunny has gone on record, both of them and Bret Hart have said that they've never slept with each other. They were always just like really good friends. And because Sunny had so many issues backstage, Bret Hart sometimes will let her get dressed in his locker room sometimes. So I guess people assume because she was giving it up to everybody that they had an affair, but he didn't. He never had an affair. They were just friends.
Okay, well, now that that's cleared up. At this point, it doesn't even matter. They're going to believe what they're going to believe. They're going to do what they want to do.
That's so true.
Also feel like now we're to the fall. Like, her rise was amazing, but now we're to the fall. And I feel like her biggest fall came from when Chris Candido. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I don't know. It's Chris Candido. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Passed away when he was working in TNA. I think it was like an accidental drug overdose, if I'm not mistaken. And being that they've been together for so long, they didn't even offer her any type of help.
Nothing.
No grieving process, no anything. And it was just like, what do you do now? Yeah,
especially because that's like your life. Like, she's been following Chris Candido on the road in wrestling since she was like in college. Mm-hmm. At one point, she even dropped out of college to follow him on the road. And then she finally that became her career. So now all of a sudden it's like, what, like you said, what do I do?
What do you do?
You know, your star has fallen. You're not really known for what you used to be known for. At this point, women in the business have done a lot, even for that time. And now you're just alone. I remember them saying that they refused to let out his like last check in her name. So she couldn't even she got nothing. And I think she said they sent her a turkey for Christmas or something. I was like, if TNA really did that.
Horrible.
That is so fucked up. But I think that goes to show the same thing with China, where the wrestling business chews you up, spits you out, and everyone goes to bat for you if you're a guy. Your brothers and everything, they stick with you. I think about like, rest in peace Scott Hall, or even like Jake the Snake, of how X-Pac, how it was like a hand, like they lent a hand for you. But with China and like Luna and even Sunny, who are doing the same thing, having the same tragic lifestyle that a lot of other wrestlers have, but they're not given the same support. They're not given the same,
And it wasn't even enough women to do the same. It wasn't even enough women. Like this is, right. We all know that wrestling is definitely a male-dominated field. Yeah. So, of course, the guys, like the band of brothers, is going to stick together no matter what. And it was just so sad to see that the women didn't have the same support or the same outreach, or like even when Undertaker gave his speech, he mentioned BSK. Like everybody know that was that brotherhood. Like if you saw pictures of them, they was all together in the back of the bus, but everybody, all the women, the handful that was there, they were sticking by their man's side. Like they never like kind of was like, I'm going to hang up with the girls over here, because it was also a catty situation.
Right, exactly. So a lot of competition, a lot of jealousy.
Yeah, and it's sad. Like it had to be that way. But I don't get. Okay, so Sunny's done all of this, right? Yes, she was very polarizing in the beginning. She was, on top. Wrong words to say. I mean, figuratively, y'all, not literally. She was at the top of her game. She, all managed the biggest tag teams in WWF at the time. But she has these downfalls and all of this that's happening to her. And then all of a sudden, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And then she gets inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011. And not saying that she's not deserving of it, but she was still going through her mess. You understand? Like, it's not like she got help. It's not like she was like remorseful or whatever. She was still going through her mess. Now she's wearing this Hall of Fame ring, which she's supposed to. And Hall of Fame to a wrestler, Hall of Fame is like a wrestler's Oscars. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You have to like hold it up to some type of prestige, some type of effort, some type of, some type of regard. And you didn't do that.
No. And that's what gets me so upset too. Cause I'm one of those people, like, aside from her personal life, if we want to go there, I think she does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, because she did do something first. She did create like a mold for like a lot of what ended up happening for women in wrestling, good or bad, but she did that. But her personal life, like you said, was a mess, and there was no problems with letting her into the Hall of Fame. And then when you bring up these other women who don't have solo inductions, China,
Luna,
Sable, like there are so many people, but she's in there. She's done worse. And since 2011, so she was even a hot ass mess. And in her book, she said that she worked really, really hard to get into shape for Hall of Fame. Like that was a thing that she really worked towards. And it was a huge moment for her. And then after that, her life went back downhill, basically. But, that was this like big, big, big moment. But like, you were still in your mess. You were still doing porn at one point. You were getting arrested for DUIs, DWIs, left and right. WWE paid for your rehab numerous times. So, I mean, that is the one thing I will say is like, at least WWE reached out to her in that way. And WWE will do that now in the last like 10, 15 years. But yeah, like you said, long overdue. But with Sunny, you still added her, but yet we have to fight for every woman that gets inducted. Like I think about the Bella Twins and how they conduct themselves, and you just compare that to how like Sunny's legacy has been in the last.
Think about how China had to go into the Hall of Fame as a group instead of by herself. And remember, we've had this conversation where I was told because of the porn that China did afterwards, it will never get her in at one point. Sunny, now the conversation online and everywhere is just like, I've seen a lot. I've seen that Sunny needs to have her WWE induction revoked, her Hall of Fame induction revoked. And I'm just like, Okay, so if we revoke hers, I mean, granted, the last thing that she's done recently, she was involved in a car accident that fatally killed somebody, a 75-year-old man.
Yeah.
Granted, that's horrible, and our love and light goes out to the victim's family. But if we revoke hers, do we revoke Kevin Nash?
What did he do?
Because I think it's either Kevin Nash or Scott Hall who accidentally shot somebody way back when while they were wrestling. You understand? Like while they were down in their luck, and it was an accident.
Right. And it goes back to like how we started the show. It's like every influential person in the wrestling business, if you peel back the curtain, none of them are angels. None of them are 100% good people. And honestly, who is really? But especially with the wrestling business back then, it was so different. And you had to do so many different things to survive. You had to sacrifice so many different things. People went to vices. Like you said, if you didn't work TV, you don't work a match, you didn't get paid. So people coped however they could cope to get into the ring and have a match in the most unhealthy and ridiculous ways. And Sunny was a victim of that grind. She obviously had family issues, family background issues. She had her personal life was a hot ass mess. So she was a victim of all of this. But then, and you know me, I sympathize with all, women to some extent, but like Sunny got me because when she got out of jail recently, one of the 2 or 3 times in the last 5 years or so, got out of jail, she got on social media and started like body shaming the female wrestlers now, calling them fat and ugly and all this stuff, all this racist shit. I think she was like pro-Trump. I was like, oh, okay, Sunny.
It's given mental illness at this point.
It's giving that. It's given a lot of different things.
And not to shame anybody for mental illness. Like when I say that, I'm not joking. It's given some type of mental illness. It's either given some type of depression. It's given some type of traumatic experience. It's given some type of conflict. Like she's probably projecting on them what was projected onto her, and she does not know how to deal with it. So that's what I mean when I say it's given mental illness. Like I'm not trying to make a joke of it. It's just that she needs help, and either she doesn't know how to seek it, or she doesn't want to deem herself as having a mental illness issue because she doesn't want to look at herself as being called crazy, considered crazy. And it's okay to seek help. It's okay to talk about therapy
too. And WWE, like she's even said, has been very helpful with her. But I think she's at that point where she's just so far gone. Because every time she gets out of jail, it's not too much longer where she's back in jail. Repeated DWIs, DUIs, it's like you just don't give a fuck anymore. You just like have an issue. And then for you to, for us to have this episode about her and say like how she was the first of the first and she was the first diva and she made an impact. These are all true statements. And then for you to come back and then, the women that can revere you and look up to you and stuff like that, like then you bash them and you discredit, because you body shaming a muscular female wrestler to me is you just bringing us back like 20 years of how women are looked at in athletic things and our bodies and stuff like that. So like Sunny, for you to at one point, and it's funny because she played a feminist character when she was in Smoky Mountain Wrestling with Jim Cornette. So at some point, like, so Sunny could have been like this kind of like symbol for strong, independent, fierce, women that's just like, yeah, I'm flaunting my sexuality. It's a power that I have, that I own it. But then you ended up coming back and being like a shitty person. And that was like really unfortunate to me. Yeah, and especially with like women associated with WWE, because you're like you said, you're a Hall of Famer. It's like it's just like not cool. And now I think she's in jail again because she like killed that guy.
Yeah, I don't think she's out yet. But do you think her Hall of Fame induction should be revoked? Do you think that WWE should just step in and like take her ring away and or do you feel like if they do that, that would kind of be like that last straw that break the camel's back?
In my opinion, I think it would open a can of worms because there's no one, like we have that memorabilia book from WrestleMania. Like everyone in that Hall of Fame, if we started really going back and really
then it's take away Moolah.
It's like take away everybody's award. Like I think about like Jerry Lawler, or like even the things that Pat Patterson was accused of. Like once you go there, then it's like I just think they should
Pandora's box.
Right. I think they should just now open the floor for more women to get acknowledged, like more than one. Like I like that Queen Charmel was inducted because it was someone that you didn't really expect, but then it's like you're reminded of their legacy. Like do more of that. Like to take the opportunity, like in spite of Sunny, like use the opportunity to feature more women that did things, because Sunny was cool. Like she was mixing it up with the men, like with no problem. She was a part of storyline. She was entertaining. She was good on the mic. She really was that bitch at one point in WWF, and it sucks that now your legacy is going to be like this mean bully that's a drunk, like she makes money. She basically a porn, like she was had an OnlyFans. Like that's where her legacy became, even after becoming a Hall of Famer. You think of like Scott Hall, who got clean and then was offered a Hall of Fame, and then his life sort of like got back on track after that. And you would hope that would be the same with Sunny, and that was like over 10 years ago.
Right. Well, I just pray that she receives some type of guidance after this, because nobody likes to see the downfall of somebody who has such polarizing, such admirable moments in her career, to where it was just like we wanted to be like her. Well, women wanted to be like her, and men wanted to be with her. Right. Hell, women probably wanted to be with her too. Hell, who knows?
She was gorgeous.
And then for us to see her spiral so hard, like I need somebody to just go grab her, shake her up, and be like, "Here, come with me." Like let Shawn Michaels go grab her and bring her to church.
Yes.
Like Shawn Michaels can do that. Let DDP go.
A lot of people,
like, people need to step in and like literally embrace her and put their arms around her. Forget about the past and just embrace her now. Because if they don't, we might be seeing a rest in peace Sunny soon, and it's going to be a real tragic thing. And that's something I do not want to happen. I do not want to see. God forbid that. But somebody needs to help her. Yeah. Somebody needs to help her, definitely.
Yeah, she really does. But we would love to know what you guys think Sunny's legacy is in wrestling in hindsight, even despite what her life ultimately became. And this is a channel where we kind of like look deep into what women meant in wrestling. So we would love to hear your thoughts, because it's never black or white. It could be very gray. That's the interesting thing about like this business and just legacies. Like just because you like someone and you respect what they do doesn't mean like they were the best people and lived the best lives. So we are very curious. Let us know in the comments and hit us up on social media what you think about Sunny. And what was your first memory? I'm very curious. What was your first memory of Sunny?
True. Let us know all of that. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening as always. Please make sure you support our Patreon. Please make sure you support our brands individually, as of course together, because we definitely have some new stuff coming out very, very soon. Make sure you look for us on other places, because we got some things lined up for you guys.
God,
which we are so excited about. What we cannot share right now.
Can I plug some events really quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so on May 20th, Invictus Pro Wrestling in New Jersey is throwing a show, and it's going to feature a really dope, like a series of matches for one night only between Shane Taylor Productions and Takeover. And it's been like really spicy, like on social media, like the Rev and Bougie been going back and forth.
We got pulled into it.
We definitely got pulled into it somehow, and it's very
probably will wear my Crocs, because my Crocs is lit.
Okay, all right. And I'm thinking like, am I taking STP? Am I taking Takeover and Bougie because they're family? Shout out to PJ Savage. So this is going to be a really fun match. It's May 20th. It's in New Jersey. Even if you can't make it, I'm going to post the link in the comments. Buy a ticket, support independent wrestling. They're really putting in work. This is going to be a really good show. And it's all family. So that's going to be excited. And
also on April 20th, another family. It's all about the women. You have Big Swole, Tasha Steele, all of them fighting right here in Brooklyn, 185 Ellery Street. So please support them as well.
I'm
P will
really
also
excited for
put
that
that
show.
link in the comments. Support.
Definitely.
Come out. We're going to watch wrestling, support independent wrestling as a family.
I love this. And we said we wanted to support more independent wrestlers. And now that we've been doing more, these have become like friends of ours. So this is like our community doing really big things. And we're really proud to be able to support. And then Pretty Heels is throwing Black Wrestle Fest Juneteenth weekend in Brooklyn. So we're really hoping to throw something, have some programming there. We're not 100% sure yet, but we, of course, will keep you updated on our social media because, you know, we love partying. We love when y'all party with us. So don't miss out. And yeah, support.
And one more event, I have to plug my event in there.
Yes.
May 28th, Memorial Day weekend in Brooklyn. Women are supporting women. It's my event called Unapologetically Eclectic Presents Take Up Your Space. Take Up Your Space is brunch and panel. It's going to be a dope panelist. Although I wanted to showcase women, men are invited. Men are invited to come out, support women. The food is going to be amazing. From a male chef. He caters all of our events. It's amazing. Oh my gosh, I need you guys to come out. So P will also put that link in the comments below. Please make sure you come out to support. Even if you can't come out to support in person, please sponsor a ticket. Give that ticket to somebody who you might
businesses, support
want to hear.
Businesses.
Definitely support small Black businesses. I have a few vendors. I have panelists. The event space I'm throwing it at is owned by a Black owner. So yes, we're just gonna be supporting all Black all the time.
I love it.
And on that note, it's your girl Krista B
and Queen P.R.
And we are out of here. Bye.
Queen P.R, Krista B, those wrestling girls, TWG, Black excellence, making it effortless. Podcast bringing up women and wrestling. Let's go.